Hare Krishna, a very warm welcome to all the devotees to our program on Srimad Bhagavatam study. And in today's class, we are going to finish the 12th chapter of first canto, which we started in the previous class. So we will continue with our discussion from 24th verse till 36th verse. So this should take something like, I would expect, 30 minutes. And in rest of the other class, we will move to the 13th chapter, and where we will discuss, I think, first 12 or 13 verses. So the topic of this chapter is birth of Emperor Parikshit, and overall this is our 33rd class. So I would invite Anupama Mataji to kindly recite Mangalacharan prayers.
Yes, Prabhuji. May I begin?
Please.
Yeah. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunamilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavanscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Swagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं श्रीकृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च हे कृष्णकरुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिकान्त राधाकान्त नमोऽस्तु ते तप्तकाञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे.
Very nice. Continue, please.
Yeah. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayet Nashtaprayeshva Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nandagopa Kumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha.
Excellent recitation, Mataji. Very nice. Very good.
Thank you.
Okay. Now we move to the next part, and would like to invite Manish Kulkarni ji from Singapore, my good colleague from my company Shell. Prabhu, please
Yeah,
take us to the summary of the previous class. Thank
yes.
you.
Hare Krishna to you all and Hare Krishna to devotees. Thank you so much, Guruji. Okay, we go back to the summary of the last class, and the topic was Canto 1, Chapter 12, Birth of Emperor Parikshit. We talk about the verse 1 to 3 here.
Prabhu, can
Guruji,
you
can
open
you?
your video so that we can
Yes,
also
Prabhu.
observe you while
Yes,
you are
yes,
speaking? Okay. Yeah. Cool. Thank you.
yes. So we go back to the verses from Canto 12. And as you remember, when we started the Srimad Bhagavatam class, the Canto first, where all the Rishis are gathered in the Naimisharanya, and then Shaunaka Rishi inquires there to Sutta Goswami about the emperor or the Emperor Parikshit, and he wanted to know more on the birth, death, and the activities of Emperor Parikshit. So that is what the question which was asked during the start of the Srimad Bhagavatam, and that is what we are going to discuss here. So the rishis in Naimisharanya reminded again Sutta Goswami from their original question. They want to learn more about Emperor Parikshit and tell us about the birth, death, and destination and activities of Maharaja Parikshit. Yeah, next one. So this is what the verses 1 to 3, which I just discussed. And then in the verses 4 to 6, we will learn about the Yudhishthira's exemplary rule. So what were the qualities of King Yudhishthira? He was very generous administrator like his father. He had no personal ambition, and then he was completely freed from sense gratification because of his devotional service to the Lord. So here we understand how the qualities of the king should be, and that is very well described. How was King Yudhishthir, and then this is what are the qualities which are described in verse 4. So verse 5, which also talks about the opulences of King Yudhishthira. So King Yudhishthir was very well known, his wealth, fame, and his sacrifices, his sovereignty over the planet even reached all the higher planets. So all people were very much eager to know and very well happy about the opulences of Yudhishthira, and the news was spreading all over the planets about the King Yudhishthira. Verse number 6, which talks about the detachment. Even he was a king, as we discussed earlier, that he had no personal ambition, but his opulence was so great that heavenly denizens aspired for it, that everybody wanted him as a king, or everybody aspired for it. But he was unattracted to them. Nothing could satisfy him except the Lord's service. So he was so much involved in the devotional service of the Lord that he was not even attracted by all these denizens or by this heavenly planet. Verse number 7, now we go back to how did Lord Krishna protect child Parikshit in the womb of his mother Uttara. So here again, we know that when this Brahmastra was released by Ashwathama, yeah, in the womb of Uttara, Parikshit was suffering from this heat of Brahmastra. So, and then in the womb, he could see that Supreme Lord is coming to help him. So he could see that some image of the Lord is coming to save into the womb of Uttara. So verse number 8 to 9, again, it describes about the child Parikshit who noted the Lord's form. So he saw that the Lord was just like a thumb high, blackish body, wore yellow dress, golden helmet. Yeah, he had 4 arms, golden earrings, red eyes, looking like a Chaturbhuj form of the Lord, and that is what child Parikshit noticed. And then when the Lord was just wandering or encircling the whole womb, he wandered like a shooting star, and that is what child Parikshit first view when he saw the Lord. That was his vision about the Lord. Then we talk about verse 10, when the Lord vanquished the radiation of Brahmastra. So, you know, the Brahmastra was released by Ashwathama, and then this heat, whatever, the Lord came to save Parikshit. And this heat, the Lord vanquished this radiation of Brahmastra, and child Parikshit observed this with a great wonder. So, from the childhood, Parikshit was observing the Lord, how powerful he was, that even this heat of Brahmastra or this radiation of Brahmastra was vanquished by the Lord. Then verse 11, the all-pervading Lord after then disappeared, after seeing Parikshit was safe and he was saved. So the child saw that slowly he could see the disappearance of the Lord, and then he just remembered it. Then we move to the verse 12 to 15, where we know that now the child Parikshit is born, and now the ceremonies are taking place there during the Maharaja Parikshit's birth. So verse number 12 talks about all the brahmanas, all the pious people are gathered there, and then we learn from the brahmanas that all the favorable signs of the zodiac manifested as Parikshit took birth. So the zodiac signs, which typically we say when we do a Janma Kundali or whatever, all the stars, the zodiac stars, proved that yes, this king he will become a very great king, similar to his ancestors. Verse number 13, Yudhishthir invited all these Brahmins to perform the birth rites and gave them appropriate charity. So about the Brahmins, it was Dhaumya and Krupa also present there. So he invited most of the Brahmins to perform the birth rites, and then he did a lot of charity to them. So this is described in verse 13 to 15. Then we talk about the verse 16 to 29, which talks about the predictions, what the Brahmanas, the learned Brahmanas, whoever were present there, they predicted how Parikshit future qualities will be there, how this child will perform, or how this child will do in his coming future. The Brahmanas said Parikshit will be known as the Vishnu Ratha because he has been protected by the Lord since from the beginning. So he will be the first class devotee of the Lord with all the good qualities. So this was the prediction of the Brahmanas. Even so, Yudhishthira, he was very much inquiring about whether he will be a king as saintly and famous as others in the royal family. So he just inquired the Brahmanas how this child will perform. Yeah, the child will be in his future. So then he inquired whether he will be as saintly as famous as others in the great royal family. So the learned Brahmanas said, yes, he would be a king, like King Ikshvaku in maintaining, and he will be like Lord Ram in following the all Brahminical principles. So he will be one of a well-known kind of a king, and as well as he will be like Ram, following all his principles. Sorry. Yeah. Then we move to the verse 20. So then again, the Brahmanas also told that the Parikshit will be munificent like famous King Sibi, and he will expand the name and the fame of the family like Bharata, son of Dushyanta. So he will also have a great name or a great fame like King Bharata, the son of Dushyanta. So again, the next verse 21 talks about the qualities of Maharaja Parikshit. He will also be amongst the bowmen. He will be like Arjuna, his grandfather. So he will be irresistible as fire and unsurpassable like ocean. So he will have the qualities as a bowman like his grandfather. Verse 22 talks about Parikshit will be strong as lion, worthy shelter like Himalaya, and forbearing like earth, and tolerant as parents. We all know how the Pandavas suffered along their journey, and then he will be very strong and very tolerant as parents. Then Parikshit will be like his grandfather Yudhishthir or Brahmana in equanimity, munificent like Shiva, resort of everyone like the Supreme Lord. So that is one of the quality which again the Brahmanas have described in this verse 23. And then verse 24, which again talks about that he will be like Lord Sri Krishna by following his footsteps. In magnanimity, he will be like King Ranti Deva, and in religion, he will be like Maharaja Yayati. So these were all the good qualities described by the learned Brahmanas, and then we understand how the king or what kind of a king Emperor Maharaja Parikshit will be, and then we will learn this in the coming chapters from our Guruji. Thank you so much, Guruji. Just a small summary because it was all storytelling. So just made the small recap of this summary. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Manish Prabhu.
Yep.
Thank you very much. Okay, so 24th verse we simply recited the translation last time. Today we will expand a little bit on what 24th verse is all about. So now we will start our discussion today. So as I said, we have already covered these first four themes. We are on to the fifth theme in this overview map. Brahmanas are predicting Parikshit Maharaj future qualities. So we have covered till 23rd verse. 24th verse we will start our discussion, and then finally the chapter ends with Parikshit's growth and Yudhishthir's performance of Yajna. So mostly storyline, but there are in some of these qualities, like from 24th till 29, there are some good description in the purport by Srila Prabhupada, which we will try to learn. Okay, so 24th verse. So before we begin our discussion, may I request to give devotees four names or three names,
I
three
am
or
there,
four
Prabhu.
names. Okay, so
I am
Manish
I
ji
am,
is
also
there,
there, Prabhuji.
Rakesh ji is there, Manish
I
ji,
am there.
Rakesh ji,
Yeah.
I'm here, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Vrindavaneshwari Mata ji.
I
Okay,
can
so
do
we
it,
have,
Prabhuji.
and then Anand Pradha Mata ji. So we need four only. Okay. So Manish Prabhu, please once again read the 24th one.
Yes. Verse 24. This child will be almost as good as Lord Sri Krishna by following his footsteps. In magnanimity, he will become as great as King Rantideva, and in religion, he will be like Maharaja Yayati.
Yeah. So there are several comparisons in the 24th verse. Almost as good as Lord Krishna by following in his footsteps. Magnanimity, he will be as great as King Rantidev, and in following dharma or religion, he will be like Maharaj Yayati. So three comparisons are given, first with Lord Krishna, then with Rantidev, and then with Maharaj Yayati. So what does comparison with Lord Krishna means? As good as Lord Krishna in following in his footsteps. What it actually means is that King Parikshit will not be exactly as Lord Krishna, but he will have qualities like Lord Krishna. So we have studied in our previous classes that Lord has 64 qualities, and out of these 64 qualities, only 78% qualities a human being or a jivatma actually can exhibit, and that too uh, in some in some quantity. Hmm. Lord Krishna have all these qualities in infinite, in abundance, unlimited, but we, like mortal human beings, at best can have 78% of those qualities, and that too in limited quantity. So as good as Lord Krishna means having uh, all the qualities that are possible for a human being to have uh, in one's life, huh? So Lord have many qualities, like he's very magnanimous, he's very grateful, he's very uh, merciful, and so on. So all those qualities are there. Now, how are these qualities are acquired? How, if we, for example, if we want to become or if we want to acquire some quality, what should we do to acquire that quality? Any guesses from the devotees? How can we acquire a quality? How can we acquire a quality? For example, I want
By
to.
remaining in constant touch with the person or a thing for of whose quality we want to acquire.
Yes, very good, Mataji, very nice. It is actually the simple, you can say, by association. So, for
Yeah.
example, if somebody is very punctual and we are not so punctual, then we can acquire those qualities of punctuality by making friend with that person, and have association with that person. So slowly his qualities will come to us also. Like, for example, when there is an iron rod, so iron rod may be cold, but when we keep this iron rod near fire, the iron rod also becomes hot. So the iron acquires the quality of fire. Similarly, when the best way to develop qualities is by associating with that person whose quality or the quality which we want to acquire. So that is actually
Right.
means acquiring the quality. Now, in the case of Lord Parikshit, in the case of Maharaj Parikshit, when it says that he will be as good as Lord Krishna by following in his footsteps, how do we associate with the Lord? How do we associate
Um,
with Lord Krishna? How do we
Shravanam
associate with
and
Lord Krishna?
Kirtan.
By
Shravanam.
Shravanam and Kirtan. By Shravanam and Kirtan means,
Yeah.
in Shravanam, what do we hear? We hear the message of the Lord. We again and again hear the message of the Lord and try to follow into the footsteps of the Lord. So, follow into the footsteps of the Lord means whatever instruction the Lord has given, we try to follow those instructions. So, that is actually meaning associating with the Lord. The Lord says, do this, and if we do this, actually that means associating with the Lord. So that is what it means, that Parikshit will be as good as Lord Krishna by following in his footsteps. He will be acquiring the quality of the Lord by following in the instructions of the Lord. So that is what it means. Now,
uh, Guruji,
yes,
can
Prabhu.
I say by mimicking
Sorry, yes, Prabhu.
mimicking the person, by mimicking the Lord?
Mimicking,
What?
mimicking gives the impression of simulating.
Ji,
Simulating means nakal utarna.
ji.
So nakal utarna may not be the
Right.
right thing to do. We actually try to take inspiration from the other person. We try to inspire ourselves by associating with that person. Oh, see, such a person with so much punctuality, so much humility, so much uh, uh, e- e- so much maybe knowledge about the shastra and so on. So like that,
जी,
when we associate with that person, we feel inspired by that person, and that is how we try to do it. So
वो तो
now when we
हिंदी
say
में
when
तो
we
आ
say
जाता है ना गुरु जी, हिंदी
now
में तो
when
आ जाता है ना, जो वो करते हैं वही करें.
हाँ, जो वो करते हैं वही करें, gives an impression of simulating or
जी
copying.
गुरु जी,
Like,
जी
for
गुरु जी,
example,
जी
Lord Krishna danced with the gopis, so we don't do that.
जी
We don't
जी
do
जी
exactly like that. So we know
जी
what to follow and what not to follow.
जी गुरु जी.
So
थैंक यू
yeah,
गुरु जी.
okay ji. Now the second comparison is with Ranti Dev. Now, who is Ranti Dev? So Ranti Dev was one of the famous Vaishnav king who is very well known for his hospitality and charity of food. So once upon a time, he fasted almost for 48 days. He did not eat anything. And after 48 days, when he was about to break his fast with some food that he had, suddenly a Brahmana came and asking for food. So he gave half of his food to the Brahmana. Then remaining half, when he was about to take, then another, some Chandal came and he gave some food to the Chandal. And like that, he actually could not eat anything. And then he was left only with water. Then some dog came or somebody else came. Then he gave the water also. Like that, he was quite magnanimous. He was quite magnanimous that even after 48 days of fasting, the food he was about to eat to break his fast, he gave it also away in charity because somebody came to his doorsteps for asking for food. So in magnanimity, Parikshit would be like Rantidev. Similarly, in following dharma, a comparison has been given with Maharaj Yayati. Now, Yayati is very famous for doing lot of yagyas, lot of pious activities, giving charities. It is said that he did in his lifetime more than 1,000 yagyas. So that is why he is very famous for following dharma. He was cursed by a sage to become impotent uh, because of some stories there, and that story actually comes in the ninth canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. So we are not going to discuss that story in detail, but he was then relaxed. The curse was relaxed by the sage that you can exchange your impotency with your children. So he had few sons. So it was given that your son will become impotent and you can take the potency of your son. So that is how some relaxation was given, and the detailed stories there all in Srimad Bhagavatam. But suffice it to say, he was quite religious in following dharma and charity and so on. A very influential king, and finally, ultimately, he became very detached from the worldly life. So that comparison has been given with Maharaj Yayati. Okay, Prabhu, please read the 25th one.
Yes. This child will be like Bali Maharaja in patience, a staunch devotee of Lord Krishna like Prahlad Maharaja, a performer of many Ashwamedha horses sacrifice and the follower of the old and experienced men.
So another few comparison in this verse also. He will be like Bali Maharaj in patience. So patience means tolerance. So Bali Maharaj story, I hope you know already, and I will just repeat it very briefly. Bali Maharaj uh, story involves Vaman Dev. So Vaman Dev was a dwarf Brahmana who went to the doorsteps of Bali Maharaj asking for 3 steps worth of land. So Bali Maharaj recognized that he's no other than Lord Vishnu, but he agreed that he will give uh, these 3 steps of land. So then Vaman Dev expanded himself in a very gigantic form, and in within 2 steps only he could cover the whole of the universe. And Bali Maharaj, he asked Bali Maharaj, Vamandev asked Bali Maharaj that where should I put my third step? Already 2 steps are being covered, everything has been covered in 2 steps. Where should I put the third step? So Bali Maharaj said, you can keep it on my head. Like that, then Vamandev even made him captive, invited Garuda, who captive made Bali Maharaj captive. The point is that Bali Maharaj was constantly tested by Vamandev, but Bali Maharaj did not lose his patience. So that is what the child has been compared in patience with Bali Maharaj. Then he will be a staunch devotee of Prahlad Maharaj. So Prahlad Maharaj story, you already know that he was a child of a demon king Hiranyakashipu, and this demon king Hiranyakashipu uh, uh, took lot of gave lot of austerities, lot of trouble to Prahlad Maharaj because he was devotee of Lord Vishnu, and Hiranyakashipu did not at all like Prahlad being a devotee of Lord Vishnu. So he was extremely tortured for being a devotee by his own father Hiranyakashipu. So that is why he has been compared with the devotee like Prahlad. By the way, in these two, in this comparison, Bali Maharaj and Prahlad. So Bali Maharaj was the grandson of Prahlad. So that is also we should know. A performer of many Ashwamedh sacrifices and a follower of the old and experienced men. So these are some other predictions being given here. He will perform many Ashwamedh sacrifices. So uh, his qualities are given: and then slowly and gradually the Bhagavatam now start to describe the activities that were done by King Parikshit. The activities that Parikshit Maharaj will do. So the story of Bali Maharaj comes in 8th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, and story of Prahlad Maharaj comes in the 7th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. So which you can also read in advance if you like. Okay, 26 Prabhu.
Yes. This child will be the father of kings who will be like sages. For world peace and for the sake of religion, he will be the chastiser of the upstarts and the quarrelsome.
Now, as I mentioned, till 25th verse, qualities of Parikshit Maharaj were described. Now, his activities are being described. So this child will be the father of kings who will be like sages. Kings like sages means Raj Rishis. And Parikshit Maharaj's son's name was Janmejaya. So Janmejaya was also a very virtuous king, a very sage-like king. So that is being predicted by the sages here, by the Brahmanas. And then for world peace, uh, and for the sake of religion, he will be the chastiser of upstarts and the quarrelsome. So uh, mm, one of the important stories that come in relation with King Parikshit is that when King Parikshit chastised Kali personified. So later in first canto, there is a detailed description about how Parikshit Maharaj came across Kali personified and chastised him. So Kali was about to kill a cow who is representing of peace and religion. So Parikshit Maharaj uh, stopped Kali in killing that cow. So that is what being mentioned here, that he will be a chastiser of upstarts and quarrelsome. People who are quarrelsome, he will actually rule and control these kind of uh, notorious people. Okay, 27 Prabhu.
Yeah. After hearing about his death, which will be caused by the bite of a snake bird sent by a son of Brahmana, he will get himself freed from all material attachment and surrender unto the personality of Godhead, taking shelter of him.
Hmm. Now you can imagine that a grandfather is hearing about his grandson, and now in this particular verse, what the grandfather is speaking about the son, he's hearing about his grandson's death. So after hearing about his death, which will be caused by a bite of a snake bird. So the name of this snake bird was Takshak, sent by a son of Brahmana. So a Brahmana will curse Parikshit Maharaj, and he will say that at the end of seventh day you will be bitten by a snake bird Takshak, and that's what this Brahmana boy cursed Parikshit Maharaj. But this verse says that after hearing about his death, he will get himself freed from all material attachment and surrender unto the personality of Godhead, taking shelter of him. So Yudhishthir Maharaj is hearing this prediction by the Brahmanas, and rather than getting worried, Yudhishthir Maharaj is feeling satisfied. Why? Because Yudhishthir Maharaj knows that death is inevitable. But what we do with this life is actually really important. So Parikshit Maharaj case, when he hears about his death, he does not become panicky. He does not counter curse the Brahmana boy just because he was cursed for death. Actually, Parikshit Maharaj had the capacity, being a pure devotee of the Lord, to counter curse the Brahmana boy and nullify the effect of the curse of the Brahmana boy. But he did not take any undue advantage of the devotional service he had done to the Lord. So he chose not to do anything like that, but he chose to hear Srimad Bhagavatam from Shukdev Goswami and uh, and actually perfect his life. Perfect his life. So that's what Parikshit Maharaj actually decided to do. Now, what do we understand from this is he will get freed from all material attachment. He will get freed from all material attachment. So, how are we going to get freed from material attachment? The formula is given in this verse: by surrender unto the personality of Godhead. taking shelter of him. So that's what Parikshit Maharaj did. He was already attracted towards the Lord. How? In the womb itself, when he was about to take birth, in the womb himself, he had the darshan of the Lord. So since his presence in the womb, he was attracted towards the Lord. And then uh, after he came out, he also followed the principles of devotional service and became a great devotee of the Lord. And like that, uh, the point this verse is trying to make is that we can get freed from material attachment only and only when we surrender unto the Supreme Lord. Only by the dint of devotional service we can free ourselves from material attachment. Another underlying message of this verse is material attachment and spiritual advancement does not go together. If we have to spiritually advance, we have to detach ourselves from the materialistic mindset, from the materialistic propensities that we have. So that is something what we have to do. And how we can do it? We can do it simply by hearing about the activities of the Lord. And that's what Parikshit Maharaj did. He completely absorbed himself for 7 complete days in hearing about the Lord, in hearing about the Lord devotees, Srimad Bhagavatam from his pure devotee Shukdev Goswami. So uh, that is what made Parikshit Maharaj detached from the material attachments. So we again and again say one more important point. We again and again say that we hear from the pure devotees of the Lord, we will become detached. We again and again say this thing. So what happens when we hear from the pure devotees of the Lord? For example, we are hearing uh, katha on Govardhan, lifting of Govardhan hill. We might have heard this katha several times in the past from several places. We might have read this from various books, etc. But once again, there is a class organized on uh, the pastimes of Govardhan hill, pastimes of Lord Krishna lifting Govardhan hill. So what actually happens when we hear the pastime again, but maybe from some advanced devotee? What is the difference? What actually happens in this interaction? Can anyone guess in the class? What is that difference of hearing from pure devotee and hearing from maybe a regular routine devotee, I would say, or
They
somebody
can
who
give
is
us
aspiring to be a devotee? Yeah. Yes, Mataji.
they can give us clarity because they are realized they have gone through
Hmm,
those challenges. Maybe they have realized the
hmm,
challenges that life poses before us.
hmm.
And
Okay. So but the katha is same, Mataji. The katha is same. Katha is
yeah,
same. So
Katha is
what
same.
is new? What is new
The
when it
new
is
is
from the lips of pure devotees?
because he is realized soul, no?
Hmm.
So he can
Okay.
tell us what is
So
the
what
real
happens
meaning.
when a soul becomes realized? What happens when a soul becomes realized? What actually is transferred from the lips of a pure devotee for the same katha, same content, heard 100 times before? Another thing, another 101st time, same thing is being repeated. We also know the storyline, so no suspense also. But what is new? What is something
The
that is
new is
transferred
the
besides
meaning,
the
the
katha
the
content?
the real meaning of the Katha content,
Okay, the meaning
which
is same. The
represents
meaning is same. The katha is same. The content is same. So okay, let me
He,
not
he is the
let.
Satguru.
Sorry.
He is the Satguru, you know.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, Satguru, that is fine. But what the Satguru has extra when he's narrating the katha?
Mukt is Mukta.
Okay, mukta. But okay, he may be mukta. But what is in it for me?
Because
Struggling
I
devotee.
realized he is a
Okay.
moksha
Yeah. Let me
for
let me
pure
make it
soul.
simple. Let me make
Ji,
it
ji,
simple.
ji, ji.
Actually,
Ji, Guru.
when we hear from the pure devotees of the Lord, we actually also get to hear or get to experience the love they feel for the Lord. So that is something which is not a very, which is something a little abstract in nature. When the
so.
pure devotee
Should I
narrates the katha,
understand?
uh,
Should
when
I
the
understand
pure
that they
devotee,
can make us realize too?
yeah, yeah, that's realization comes. How the realization comes? What is that?
So
What is that quality in the devotee, or what happened to that devotee, he has developed that love for the Lord in his heart. And when he narrates the katha, the narration of the katha, the love actually comes mixed with the katha comes mixed with the love of the pure devotee. And
Oh,
when we are hearing that katha, we are not only
yeah.
hearing the katha, but we are also becoming the recipient of that love that that devotee have for the Lord, and that actually rubs on our character also. We
Yeah.
also get a slight amount of that love of that pure devotee ourselves. So that is what we are trying to emphasize. Okay. Okay, Manishji, please go ahead.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. After inquiring about proper self knowledge from the son of Vyasadeva, who will be a great philosopher, he will renounce all material attachment and achieve a life of fearlessness.
Achieve a life of fearlessness. Hmm. How the fearlessness is coming? Again, the same theme. Fearlessness is that he is hearing, after inquiring about proper self knowledge from the son of Vyasdev, which is Shukdev Goswami, who will be a great philosopher. He will renounce all material attachment and achieve a life of fearlessness. So once again, another quality of Krishna Katha. When we hear Krishna Katha, we become fearless. We become fearless. How? Because in Krishna Katha, what do we know? What do we understand? We understand that we are not the body, we are a spirit soul. We are eternal spirit soul. This material world is not a place for us. Our ultimate place is the spiritual world. Yeah? And we also get the knowledge about the Supreme Lord. We also got the knowledge of our relationship with the Supreme Lord. We are his eternal children. So when we hear Krishna Gatha, we understand about our own transcendental nature. We understand about the transcendental nature of the Supreme Lord, and we also understand that how we can revive our relationship with the Supreme Lord, which is through devotional service, through bhakti. And after getting trained, after getting understanding of this Krishna Gatha, this philosophy of Krishna consciousness, uh, at the time of death, we may be having some difficulty, we might be probably having some trouble because of some disease, some other difficulty, etc. But we will not be fearful. Why? Because by the virtue of knowledge we receive from Krishna Katha, we will know we have performed some devotional service, and then because of this devotional service, certainly Lord is going to take care of us. At the time of our death, we know that our destination will be somewhere. We are going to get some, at least some good destination, and if Lord is very merciful, probably we are going back to the spiritual world. So the devotee knows what's coming up in the life in his future, but a non-devotee, on contrary, does not know. A non-devotee does not know even whether he's a spirit soul, whether he's not the body. He doesn't have all these information. So at the time of death, he's very fearful. What is going to happen to me? I don't know, where will I go? So that is what happens when we hear Krishna Katha. We become fearless. So that is what is being mentioned in the 28th verse. Okay, please move to the next one. Yeah.
Yeah. Thus, those who were expert in astrological knowledge and in performance of the birth ceremony instructed King Yudhishthira about the future history of his child.
Hmm.
Then, being sumptuously remunerated, they all returned to their respective homes.
Hmm. So after receiving the chart reading, the astrologers who had come there to read the chart of Parikshit Maharaj, the birth ceremony uh, uh, and all that was over, and the Brahmanas, the astrologers, etc., were given good dakshina, good sumptuously remunerated, and then the Brahmanas returned back home. So in the purport, if you read, Prabhupada had taken this opportunity to mention various branches of knowledge considered to be Vedic knowledge, for example, Ayurveda, Jyotish Shastra, Dhanurved, and so on. And in those times, in the Vedic times, all these knowledge were handled by people who were in general known as Brahmanas. And Prabhupada also explained the difference between Vipra, Brahmana, and Vaishnava in the purport. So he says that Vipra actually means he's expert in Vedic knowledge, but he's mainly focused in Karma Kanda activities. So we'll go to households, we'll go to the families and so on, and we'll perform some yajna. Maybe somebody wants putra kamishti yagya, somebody wants some another type of yagya, so to satisfy some religious desire, some desires through religious yagyas and so on. So Vipra were experts in karma kanda, Brahmanas were experts in jnana kanda. Jnana kanda means taking knowledge of the Lord, understanding more about spiritual subject matter. So those were mainly Brahmanas. And when these Brahmanas actually became very expert in the Jnana kanda, then they actually uh, became experts in Upasana kanda. Upasana kanda means the devotional service of the Lord, and that was mainly the perfection of a Brahmana was to become a Vaishnava. So these three distinctions Prabhupada make in the purport. Okay. Now the 30th verse, Prabhu, this will be your last one. Yeah.
Yes. Parikshit, this child will be called Parikshit, examiner, because he constantly remembered the Lord who he saw in the womb and searched for amongst all men.
Hmm. So here the name of the meaning is mentioned. What is the meaning of the name Parikshit? So the word Parikshit actually comes from the word Pariksha. So like we have given a lot of parikshas in our student days. So pariksha means exam or test. So Parikshit means an examiner. Examining what? Examining everyone. When he came out of the womb, he's examining everyone. And what is examining? He saw in the womb a very beautiful form of Lord Krishna, and he was very much attracted towards that form. So after coming out from the womb, he's actually searching for Lord Krishna and he's examining everyone. Is this person Lord Krishna? No, no, no. Is this person Lord Krishna? No, no, no. Maybe some other person is Lord Krishna. So he's examining. That is why his name is examiner, and that is Parikshit. So here, what message Prabhupada gives in his purport is that Parikshit Maharaj got this impression of Lord Krishna at a very early age. In case of Parikshit Maharaj, he gave this impression, he got this impression even in the womb. For us, it may not be in the womb, but uh, but what Prabhupada is trying to say that in childhood, if the impression of the Lord, impression of Vedic knowledge, impression of spiritual knowledge is given to the children, then that can go for long. That can go for a very uh, can prove really beneficial for the person. So childhood impressions are very very crucial. The kind of sanskaras, the kind of values we are giving. So it is very important and crucial to give children the right sanskaras. And when they are young, when they are very young, it is easy for the parents to give these sanskaras to the children, because when they are young they don't actually decide for themselves. It is the parents who decide for the children. So the parents say that let us go to the temple. The child who is maybe 3 4 years old cannot protest. After they grow a bit more, become more adult, maybe come to their adolescent and so on, they are on their own. They start to take decision. They don't listen to the parents generally. But when they are very young, very in their childhood, it is quite important that parents try to take this opportunity to give these kind of impressions. They take them to the temple, go to the satsang, sit together with them in satsang, maybe some do some games, play some devotional games with them, maybe engage them in learning some kratal, mridanga, and so on, and perform some arti, ask them to perform arti. All those some small activities, if they engage children, then those small activities can create a lot of deep sanskaras, deep impressions on the mind of the children, and they can go for a long way. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada gave his own example. He mentioned that when he was very young, his own father gave him uh, dolls of Krishna and Radha, and Prabhupada would used to play with these dolls. He would also go to the temple with his father, and by doing all these activities, Prabhupada developed attraction for the Lord. And later on, when Prabhupada became a bit older, like when he started to going colleges, etc., then he said that he writes that his attraction actually got toned down. All disruption came. He became interested more in freedom struggle, some other activities, his career, etc. But all these devotional impressions resurfaced once again when Prabhupada met his guru, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. So Prabhupada in the purport is feeling grateful that his father gave these impressions in the very young age, uh, and that actually really helped Prabhupada to become to advance in Krishna Bhakti and so on. In my own case, I also distinctly remember that my own grandfather, when I was very young, he would notice that I had a lot of inclination to read comics. So in my time when I was a child, like 7 8 years old, there were not many TV programs or video games and so on. So most of our entertainment was based on comics, like Amar Chitra Katha or Champak or whatever. So my grandfather noted that I had a lot of liking for reading these comics. So he would bring me a lot of magazines or a lot of literature uh, from Vrindavan, etc., which had pictures. And besides the pictures, there were a lot of stories about Lord Krishna. So I very distinctly remember even today that I had read the story of Putana's killing, or Lord Krishna killing a dhobi, or Lord Krishna playing with his friends and so on. So I fully support this, that we should try our best to give these kind of impressions to the children right from the childhood. Okay, now we invite Rakesh ji for doing the reading. Prabhu, please read.
Growth. As the moon in its waxing fortnight develops day after day, so the royal prince Parikshit very soon developed luxuriantly under the care and full facilities of his guardian grandfathers.
Hmm, yeah. So this is something, a small storyline here, and the comparison has been made as the moon in its waxing fortnight develops day after day. So the royal Prince Parikshit very soon developed luxuriantly under the care and full facilities of his guardian grandfather. So Parikshit Maharaj had many grandfathers: Arjuna, Nakula, Sahadeva, Bhima, Yudhishthira, so many grandfathers. So, like the moon grows every day, little bit. Similarly, Parikshit was also growing under the guidance and care of his guardian grandfathers. Next one, Prabhu.
Sacrifices. Just at this time, King Yudhishthir was considering performing a horse sacrifice to get freed from sins incurred from fighting with kinsmen. But he became anxious to get some wealth, for there were no surplus funds outside of fines and tax collection.
Hmm. Now, King Yudhishthir wanted to do a Ashwamedha Yajna, but he had no money. So whatever money was left in the treasury was only sufficient for day-to-day running activities of the kingdom. So he did not had any money to do Ashwamedha Yajna, and Ashwamedha Yajna required a lot of money. So he became very anxious to get some wealth. And why there was no more money in the kingdom when Yudhishthira started to rule? Because just before Yudhishthira started to rule, they had fought a big battle like Kurukshetra war. And in the battlefield of Kurukshetra, a lot of money was spent. So war is not a cheap affair. War is a very costly affair. Uh, so when people go for war, they do destruction, which is costly. And not only destruction is costly, but even warring regularly will require food for the soldier, will require medicine for the soldier, and after the soldiers are uh, martyred in the battlefield, they require cremation. So all these activities require lot of expenses. So there was no surplus money left uh, in the treasury, and Yudhishthir Maharaj were trying to perform a Ashwamedha sacrifice, and he became very anxious. So let us see how he arranged for this money. Please read the 33rd one.
Wealth. Understanding the hearty wishes of the king, his brothers, as advised by the infallible Lord Krishna, collected sufficient riches from the north, left by King Marutta.
Marutta, very good. Okay. Now, Lord Krishna understood the difficulty Yudhishthir Maharaj is facing, that there is no wealth, no money for doing Ashwamedha sacrifice. And Yudhishthir Maharaj was very keen to do this Ashwamedha sacrifice. Why? Because he was feeling very guilty of this war of Kurukshetra. He thought that he is the main culprit because this war happened. So he wanted to do some pious activities like yajna to get rid of that sinful activity that he had done in the form of a war. And Lord Krishna understood that Yudhishthir Maharaj is feeling a little tight on funds. He doesn't have any funds, and that's why he cannot do Ashwamedha Yajna. So he advised Yudhishthir Maharaj that in the north, near Himalayas, there used to be a king called Marutta, and Marutta had a lot of gold. Had lot of gold. He had lot of gold. Why? Because uh, uh, Marutta's brother was owner of a gold mountain. So Marutta had a brother, and his brother was owner of a gold mountain which was known as Shringa. So that is why Marutta had lot of gold. He had so much gold that once Marutta performed a yajna, and in that yajna, all the paraphernalia, all the infrastructure of the yajna was made up of pure gold. And this is something very astonishing. Like if we perform yajna today, then yajna would be we will keep the yajna paraphernalia maybe in some pattal, or maybe in some paper plate, etc. Or maybe we will make the yajna infrastructure maybe with some bricks, etc., etc. But Marutta, when he performed this yajna, it was made up of pure gold. And how he got that gold? Because his brother was the owner of a gold mountain. And after doing this yajna, Marutta gave lot of gold charity to the Brahmanas. So much gold he gave to the Brahmanas that uh, the Brahmanas were not able to take away all the gold. They had to leave some gold behind. And whatever gold he was left behind was not taken by Marutta, because he had already given in the charity. And in the yajna sacrifice also, whatever paraphernalia was being used was made up of gold. And once used, whatever items were used in the yajna were never used before, so they were thrown in the dustbin. So Brahmana left lot of charity, and that charity was thrown away in the dustbin in the form of gold. And the Marutta also, the yajna paraphernalia was thrown in the dustbin. So there was lot of unclaimed gold left behind after Marutta performed this yajna. So Lord Krishna mentioned to Yudhishthir Maharaj that there is a lot of unclaimed and unattended gold left behind somewhere in the north. So please send your brothers to collect all these unclaimed gold and use this gold to actually perform this Ashwamedha sacrifice. So that is what how Yudhishthir Maharaj actually collected this wealth with the help of his brothers and whatever gold was left behind by King Marutta and the Brahmanas. So one thing that Prabhupada also writes in the purport is that Yudhishthir Maharaj did this sacrifice mainly to get rid of sins. So we also might be committing sins knowingly, unknowingly in our lives. And like Yudhishthir Maharaj was performing yajna, we also should perform yajna on a regular basis to get rid of our sins, which we do knowingly or unknowingly. And one of the best yajna of this time and age is to chant the holy names of Lord Hari. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So that is again a message that Prabhupada gives in the purport when it comes to yajna of this age. Okay, read 34th, Prabhu.
With those riches, Maharaj Yudhishthir performed 3 horse sacrifices and pleased Lord Krishna.
So Maharaj Yudhishthir now performed these horse sacrifices, Ashwamedha Yajna, and Lord Krishna was very much pleased by all these yajnas. Okay, next one, Prabhu.
Lord Krishna, being invited to the sacrifices, saw to it that they were performed by qualified Brahmanas. After that, he remained a few months to please his relatives.
Okay, so Lord Krishna was also an invitee in that Ashwamedha Yajna. He actually became the chief person or the chief guest of the Yajna. So Lord Krishna also made sure that yajna was being performed by the right qualified brahmanas, and then after the yajna was over, he left. He was there with the relatives for few months, and then in 36 verse, please read.
Thereafter, Krishna bade farewell to Yudhishthir, Draupadi, and other relatives and started for Dwarka along with Arjuna and the Yadus.
Along with Arjuna and the Yadu. So now please remember this, that Krishna now have completed the yagya through Yudhishthir Maharaj, and now he will leave for Dwarka. With whom he is going? He is going together with Arjuna and Yadus. So we will relate this point later in our class, that he was in Dwarka together with Arjuna and Yadu, his family members. Okay, so that finishes the 12th chapter of the first canto, uh, Birth of Emperor Parikshit, which largely talks about the qualities of Parikshit Maharaj and the ceremonies, etc., that Yudhishthir Maharaj had performed. So mostly storyline, but maybe few good points also in the purports by Srila Prabhupada. Now we move to the next chapter, which is the 13th chapter, titled as Dhritarashtra Quits Home. And in this chapter, we are going to study first 13 verses today. Dhritarashtra quits home. So, after birth of Parikshit Maharaj, how the topic starts to move towards Dhritarashtra quit home, we will do a little discussion about this but in the first. But before we go to that, let us see a little overview map of what happens in this chapter. Dhritarashtra quits home. So it is again 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 themes. Vidura returns to Hastinapur from pilgrimage. Now Vidura is entering into the discussion of Srimad Bhagavatam. Vidura comes to Hastinapur and he is received by Yudhishthir, who is now the king of Hastinapur. They have discussion about few things, few topics. And then Vidura explain Yudhishthir Maharaj the purpose of staying in Hastinapur, and so on. Then there is a discussion between Vidura and Dhritarashtra, where Vidura actually chastises Dhritarashtra. So there are quite some heavy dose on what happens when a person is too much attached to the materialistic life. So materialistic life attachment here is represented by Dhritarashtra, and Vidura is chastising Dhritarashtra for being too much attached to materialistic life. So, uh, so like that, Dhritarashtra, Gandhari, and Vidura then leaves, and Yudhishthira is lamenting that his uncles and auntie have left. And then Narad Muni comes to the kingdom of Yudhishthir Maharaj and shatters his lamentation and illusion. So these are some themes that we are going to discuss. Today we are going to cover first two themes, and maybe in next two classes we will cover the rest of the other four themes. So this class is going to take maybe another two classes after this class. So let us first of all see that after the description of birth ceremony of Parikshit Maharaj, how come now the discussion is moving towards Dhritarashtra quits home. So after describing Maharaj Parikshit birth, Sud Goswami now describes the events leading to Maharaj Parikshit's coronation. So Parikshit Maharaj taken birth, now Parikshit Maharaj will become king. Now before Parikshit Maharaj become king, there were certain events that took place. What were those events? So now, why are we discussing about Parikshit Maharaj coronation? Why are we discussing about that he will become a king, etc.? Because the question by the sages was, please tell me about the birth of Parikshit Maharaj, the activities of Parikshit Maharaj, the renunciation of Parikshit Maharaj, and the death of Parikshit Maharaj. Four items they have asked. Birth they have already been described by Sut Goswami in the previous chapter 12. Now moving to the activities of Parikshit Maharaj. So one of the most prominent activity Parikshit Maharaj did was chastisement of Kali. So in the later chapters, Parikshit Maharaj will chastise Kali, who was supposed to about to kill a cow, representing peace and religion. So Parikshit Maharaj chastises Kali that time. But before Parikshit Maharaj do that activity, he has to become a king. And before he has to become a king, the Pandavas, his forefathers, his uncles, his grandfathers, have to retire. So in chapter number 15, where the description has been given of Parikshit Maharaj becoming a king, has been described. And then also in chapter 15, Pandavas retire. Pandavas actually leave Hastinapur. and before Pandavas retire. Why do Pandavas retire? Because Arjuna, who had gone together with Lord Krishna in Dwarka, brings back this news to Yudhishthir Maharaj that Lord Krishna has also departed this planet. So all the Pandavas now think that there is now no more charm to live in on this planet, because Lord Krishna has already retired, already departed. We should also now retire, and that became the impetus of King Parikshit to become Parikshit Maharaj to become the king or coronate the throne. So before Lord Krishna departs, which happens in chapter 14, there is a description about Dhritarashtra quits home. So all those events leading to the coronation of King Parikshit are described in this chapter. That how now Vidura comes back to Hastinapur, and then and so on. The story starts to unfold. So that is the link. Now we will start reading our verses from first verse to get onwards. Now I will request Vrindavaneshwari Mataji to do the reading.
Yes, Prabhu. Vidura returned to Hastinapur, having learned about the goal of self from Maitra during his pilgrimage.
So stop, Mataji, just stop here. Vidura returned to Hastinapur having learned about the goal of self from Maitreya during his pilgrimage. Now, Vidura, how does Vidura surface in this chapter? So, first of all, before we discuss the background of Vidura, how he came into this chapter, and what is meant by he returned to Hastinapur, actually why he went away from Hastinapur, we will discuss all this. But before we discuss little bit about Vidur. So Vidur, in the purport, Srila Prabhupada narrates the story of Vidur, that Vidur was an incarnation of Yamraj, and he was son of a maid servant of Queen Ambika, and his father was Vyasdev. So Vyasdev had this union with the uh, Queen Ambika's maid servant, and through which Vidura was born. So Vidura is popularly known as Dasi Putra. Why? Because he was born out of a maid servant, but his father was Vyasdev. So why he took birth from a maid servant? Why he became a Dasi Putra? Or Dasi Putra would mean actually Shudra class of person. So why he became a Shudra here? So there is a story behind it. It is a story that Yamraj was cursed by one of the sage named as Manduka Muni. And how Yamraj became, how Yamraj had this curse by Manduka Muni. So another story there is on this. So Manduka Muni had an ashram, and once there was a robbery in the kingdom, and the thieves took shelter in the ashram of Manduka Muni. So they ran and took shelter there in Manduka Muni's ashram. So the king's soldier came and caught the thieves from the ashram of Manduka Muni. So when they caught the thieves, they also took away Manduka Muni. They also arrested Manduka Muni with the thieves. Although Manduka Muni had not done any robbery, but just because the thieves were hiding in his ashram, Manduka Muni also became party of, and the soldiers also took away Manduka Muni. And as a punishment, when the thieves and Manduka Muni was about to be pierced with a spear, the king of the kingdom comes back and stops this punishment. He timely stops this punishment. But Manduka Muni, this left Manduka Muni quite thinking that why it happened with me. He became very curious. He, by dint of his yogic power, he went to Yamaraj and asked Yamaraj that why you did all this to me. Then Yamaraj mentioned that in your previous life, or when you were a child, you pierced an ant with a thorn, and in order to have to reap that karma, this happened with you. So Manduka felt that Yamaraj did too much. Just because he was a child, unknowingly he might have pierced some ant, some thorn, and for that small deed that he did unknowingly, Yamaraj gave him such a big trouble. So Manduka Muni became angry, and Manduka Muni cursed Yamaraj that you become Shudra in your next life. So that is why Vidura, Yamaraj is Vidura taking birth from the womb of a maid servant. So this is about Vidura's life, Vidura's previous life as Yamraj. But now, what is the background about Vidura returning to Hastinapur? Where actually Vidura went and why he went or why he left Hastinapur? So before Mahabharat war began, Vidura was sitting once together with his brother Dhritarashtra, and he was trying to counsel Dhritarashtra that don't let your son let your son become the cause of infamy of our kula, of our family. Your son your son Duryodhan is very adamant. You should try to make him understand that the way he is behaving should not be like that. And while he was counseling Dhritarashtra, Duryodhan did not like what Vidur was saying to Dhritarashtra, and Vidur was insulted by Duryodhan. Duryodhan said that whatever you have done so far for this kingdom of Hastinapur, as a reward, we are leaving you alive. We are leaving you breath in your two nostrils. But otherwise, my dear uncle, you just please get lost. So he was insulted by Duryodhana, severely insulted by Duryodhana, and he took this indication as a message of the Lord that now he has to leave. And what he did was, Vidura actually then went and left for a pilgrimage. He went for a Tirth Yatra. So in Tirth Yatra also, while he was going to various Tirth Sthan, uh, one fine day he meets Uddhava. Now Uddhava uh, was younger in age to Vidura, and Uddhava had recently heard Uddhav Gita from Lord Krishna. eh. And Lord Krishna, after reciting Uddhav Gita to Uddhav, had also already actually left this planet. And before Lord Krishna left planet, he made arrangement that there was an internal fight between the family members of between the Yadus, and the Yadus killed each other. And then Lord Krishna also left, and then before he left, he taught Uddhav Gita to Uddhav. And now Vidura is meeting Uddhava in some pilgrimage. So Vidura understand that Uddhav actually have heard something very nice from Lord Krishna, and he expressed his desire to hear that Uddhav Gita, to hear that whatever was described by Lord Krishna to Uddhav, he wanted to hear that. But Uddhav said that, my dear sir, I am not actually the right person to give you all that knowledge. I am very younger in age to you. And but what I can tell you is that one more sage, Maitreya Rishi, also heard when Lord Krishna was explaining me Uddhav Gita. So what you can do is you can inquire about what was being discussed from sage Maitreya. And all this is being described in third and fourth canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. So Srimad Bhagavatam is not chronological. It is going on piece by piece in a very logical way. There is a set of questions, the questions are being answered, then the next set of questions, but it is not chronological. Chronology you will understand when you actually try to understand the whole flow of Srimad Bhagavatam. So this description of Vidura meeting Uddhava and then Uddhava leading Vidura to Maitreya is described in third and fourth canto, which probably we will also study in the future. But that is the background about all what is going on right now in this chapter. I hope that was clear. uh, Quite some detail, but
Yes,
now please read the second verse.
yes. Having become established in loving devotional service to Lord Krishna, Vidura retired from asking questions of Maitreya.
So now Vidura went to Maitreya Muni, and he inquired about he asked questions and so on, and Maitreya Muni was giving this knowledge to Vidura, which is mostly covered in the third and the fourth canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. So that is what is being going on right now in this chapter. So this is the background of Maitreya and Vidura. Okay, please move ahead. Please read this from the purport.
Yes, yes. One who is not seriously inclined to put questions before a spiritual master need not accommodate a show bottle spiritual master, nor should a person who may be a spiritual master for others, pose to be so. If he is unable to engage his disciple ultimately in the transcendental loving service of Lord Shri Krishna.
Ha. So here uh, the emphasis is when how should one become a spiritual master and what should be the responsibility of the disciple. So here this is coming in the second purport of the second verse of 13th chapter, and why it is coming, because there is a description between discussion of whether Vidura and Maitreya Muni. So Prabhupada is trying to say here is that responsibility of a disciple is to ask questions. The disciple should not make a spiritual master only for show bottle, just because of fashion. I also have a guru. He is also having guru. He is also having guru. I also have a guru. Not for personal prestige or not for personal advertisement. One should not accept a spiritual master for that purpose. A spiritual master, once somebody accepts, it is mainly to ask questions, to pose spiritual inquiries, to further ourselves in on the path of spirituality. That is why one need to accept spiritual master. Similarly, a spiritual master also should not accept the disciple just for posing to others. Hmm? He should accept disciple because uh, he would like that his disciple to become engaged in the transcendental loving service of Lord Krishna, to become inclined towards devotional service. So a spiritual master also should not accept disciple just for increasing his fan following. He should accept disciple mainly because he has this now responsibility to take his disciple back to Godhead, to engage him in the service of Lord Krishna. So both responsibilities are being discussed in this purport here. Okay, please read this third and fourth.
Yes, Prabhu. When they saw Vidura return to the palace, all the inhabitants, Maharaj Yudhishthira, his younger brothers, Dhritarashtra, Satyaki, Sanjay, Kripacharya, Kunti, Gandhari, Draupadi, Subhadra, Uttara, Kripi, many other wives of Kauravas, and other ladies with children, all hurried to him in great delight. It so appeared that they had regained their consciousness after a long period.
Yeah, so when Vidura comes back to Hastinapur, after that insult that insult happened before the Kurukshetra war. Duryodhan insulted him. Now, when he is coming back, Yudhishthir Maharaj is already the king. Duryodhan has left his body, and Yudhishthir Maharaj is the king. Dhritarashtra probably is now no longer the king, and he's somewhere in the palace. So that has been described. That and when Vidura comes back, then what happens? See the reaction of the inhabitants, and which all hurried to him in great delight. It so appeared that they had regained their consciousness after a long period. So regained their consciousness, or Vidura was something like life of the palace. He was something like consciousness of the palace. And when the loving uncle, Vidura uncle, actually comes back mm, to the palace, then everybody feels like as if they have regained their consciousness. Actually, why Vidura comes back? Vidura comes back mainly to enlighten his brother, elder brother Dhritarashtra. That is the main purpose that he comes. And all these indications in this particular verse actually shows that Vidura was very much loved, very much dear to all the inhabitants of the palace. Now, read the fifth one, Mataji.
Yes, Prabhu. With great delight, they all approached him, as if life had returned to their bodies. They exchanged obeisances and welcomed each other with embraces.
Yeah, so exchange obeisances, welcomed each other with embraces. So, if people were younger or elder, they would pay obeisances, and then if they are equal, they would embrace each other. So, again, the same theme is there, that as if life had returned to their bodies. So, Vidura was a very, very dear person, a very dear uncle, a very dear resident of the palace, and when he comes back, everyone in the palace was very, very joyful. Okay, yes.
Due to anxieties and long separation, they all cried out of affections. Sorry, King Yudhishthira then arranged to offer sitting accommodations and a reception.
Read seventh one as well.
After Vidura ate sumptuously and took sufficient rest, he was comfortably seated. Then the king began to speak to him, and all who were present there listened.
Hmm. Now, here in the sixth verse, it is again showing some indication that when they met after a long time, they all cried out of affection. So they were crying. So tears were flowing from their eyes when they met their beloved uncle. And then some indication about the hospitality of Yudhishthir Maharaj, how to receive somebody, how to receive a family member. So King Yudhishthir then arranged to offer sitting accommodation and a reception. So he was warmly received. He was warmly welcomed by uh, his nephew Yudhishthir. And there are few other details given that after this welcome, it was not that immediately Yudhishthir Maharaj and Vidura entered into some conversation, started discussing about the kingdom or maybe other family members and so on. It did not happen like that. After that, Vidura was given prasad, was given some food. He ate sumptuously, and then after eating, he took rest. After he had taken rest, then he was given a comfortable seat. And when Vidura was completely relaxed, comfortable, his rest, he has been resting. He took good food. Then the conversation began with Yudhishthir Maharaj, and he started to inquire about various things from Vidur. So this is the way one should welcome a family member, like very lovingly, very nicely, offer them food, offer them rest, and then maybe we can start talking about other family matters or other business affairs. Okay, we now move to the next theme of our class today, probably the last theme today. Uh, Now we will invite Anand Prada Mataji to do the reading.
uh, conversation between Yudhishthira and Mudra.
Hmm.
Maharaja Yudhishthira said, "My uncle, do you remember how you always protected us, along with our mother, from all sorts of calamities? Your partiality, like the wings of a bird, saved us from poisoning and arson."
Hmm. Now Yudhishthir Maharaj, after meeting Vidurji, he's remembering some historical accounts. Uh, do you remember, my dear uncle, how you protected us along with our mother from all sorts of calamities? So he's feeling very, very grateful, very, very kritagya. So kritagya means what? Kritagya, the word kritagya is composed of two words, krita and agya. Krita means if somebody has done something for us, that is krita. Agya means knowing that somebody has done something for us is known as agya. So agya means knowledge, knowing about, and krita means some favor. So a person, if somebody does something for someone, then a person should always feel very, very grateful that somebody has done some favor for us. So uh, and should never forget, and if possible, the person who has been favored should also reciprocate in return to the other person. So that is something which is known as kritagya. Like we have in the case of Dhruv Maharaj. So Dhruv Maharaj, when he was a very small child, he was guided by his mother Suniti to go to forest and to worship the Supreme Lord, to meditate upon the Supreme Lord. Dhruv Maharaj followed the advice of his mother and actually became a successful devotee. He actually had the darshan of the Lord. And 36,000 years later, in those days, the people would live for that long. So 36,000 years later, when he had ruled, lived his life, when the Vaikuntha plane from Vaikuntha had come, Dhruv Maharaj refused to step on the plane to Vaikuntha. Why? He asked that 36,000 years ago, my mother Suniti actually, because of him only, I could get the darshan of the Lord. Now, how I can go alone to Vaikuntha? Huh? My mother Suniti should also, first of all, be given this opportunity to go back to Vaikuntha, not me, my mother first. So this is how what Kritagyata means. Even if the favor has been done long, long time ago, the person should always remember that favor has been done to him. So Then the Vishnu Duta mentioned to Dhruv Maharaj that your mother is already on the other plane, my dear sir. Please, can you have a look there? Your mother is playing another plane to Vaikuntha, being ridden by, being driven by another Vishnu Duta. So this is what Kritagyata means. So Maharaj Yudhishthir is expressing his gratitude to Vidurji, who had now returned back to the kingdom. And what Maharaj Yudhishthir is saying? Maharaj Yudhishthir is saying that uh, you favored us, you did partiality to us. And how did you do partiality? Like the wings of the bird. So when the children of the bird are, or the small birdlets are actually very small, then the big bird or the mother bird protects these birdlets with the wings. Like that, you had shown partiality to us. So partiality means what? Although all the children in the palace were equally treated, but because the Pandavas father Pandu had died, their mother was a widow, then all the elderly in the palace would actually take a little more extra care for the children of the Pandavas. So that is why it is mentioned partiality. Another reason for giving partiality or partial treatment to Pandavas was the Kauravas, or like Duryodhan and company, were inimical to Pandavas. And these people, Vidur, etc., would know about this enmity between Kauravas, and specifically the scheming nature, the Shadyantrakari nature of the Kauravas, they already know. And that is why these Vidura, etc., were partial to these people. And there were several incidents that happened, and the famous one is the fire in the Varnavat festival, where there was a palace was built by uh, under some scheme of Dhritarashtra and the other Duryodhan and so on. So that palace was made up of very inflammable material, and Vidura, when Yudhishthir and his brothers, along with the mother Kunti Devi, was about to live in that palace for few days, Vidura indirectly hinted Yudhishthir Maharaj, there is something wrong in that palace, and that is meant mainly to kill you. And then later on, Vidura also helped these brothers to escape from the palace. So that is what it is being mentioned, that he is being partial to the Pandavas, and he saved him from various calamities like arsonry and so on. Okay, read the next one, Mataji.
While traveling on the surface of the earth, how did you maintain your livelihood? At which holy places and pilgrimage sites did you render service?
Hmm. Now, coming to business means he's probing a little bit more. You have been away from Hastinapur for quite some time. You, I understand that now you had taken a vanprastha. You had retired from the active life. So you might have given to a lot of pilgrimages. And in those pilgrimages, what was the arrangement? Where would you take food? So normally in pilgrimages, when people go, then there is free charitable annashetras that are going on, where people actually take food, partake food, and so on. So Yudhishthir Maharaj, like a loving family member, is asking about how your past few days, when you were not there in Hastinapur, actually went by. What did you do in the pilgrimages? What kind of food did you eat, and so on? So that's what he is asking to Vidurji. Okay. Now this is the verse we recited in our previous shloka memorization class. So once again, there is an opportunity now to read it. And to now, this time when we read this verse, we are going to read it in the context. In what context this verse actually comes. So here, Yudhishthir Maharaj is glorifying Vidurji. Yudhishthir Maharaj is saying that devotees like your good self are like holy places personified. And why these are holy places? Because you carry the Lord in your heart. So this is the verse we studied last time. So Mataji, please read the Sanskrit together with me. Bhavad vidha bhagavatas.
Bhavatvidha bhagavatas.
Yes. Bhavad vidha bhagavatas.
Bhavatvidha bhagavatas.
Tirtha bhuta swayam vibho.
Tirtha bhuta swayam vibhu.
Tirthi kurvanti tirthani.
Tirthi kurvanti tirthani.
Swantha Gadabhrita.
Kantasena Gadabhrita.
Okay. So Bhavad Vidha Bhagavatas. My Lord, devotees like your good self. Bhagavatas. Bhagavatas means devotees like your good self. Tirtha Bhuta Swayam Vibho are verily holy places personified. Tirtha Bhuta. Your Tirtha Bhuta means holy places personified by Swayam Vibho, because you are so great. Then Tirthi Kurvanti Tirthani. You turn all places into places of pilgrimage. Tirthi Kurvanti Tirthani. Or the holy places are actually holy because of you. Tirthi Kurvanti Tirthani. The holy places become holy because of devotees like you. Why? Because Swanta Sthena Gadabhrata. Because you carry the personality of Godhead within your heart. So that is what uh, Yudhishthir Maharaj is now, with sweet words, glorifying Vidurji, appreciating his devotional service. So what we need to learn from this verse is that the purpose of holy places is mainly to purify the polluted consciousness of people. And how these people purify the consciousness, how these places purify the consciousness? Because at these holy places there are pure devotees of the Lord who are living there. And then when one goes to a holy place, then what one should do? Then the real purpose of going to the holy places should be mainly to associate with the devotees. And so what one should do when they go to the holy place, they should find some opportunity to associate with a pure devotee. Maybe some sannyasi has come, some senior devotee has come. So people should take this opportunity to find a pure devotee, learn from them, and inculcate the teachings that they are giving in one's own life. So that is the main purpose of going to the holy places. So there are several beautiful points given in the purport by Srila Prabhupada. So let us meditate a little bit on them. Mataji, please read from here, paragraph by paragraph.
Lord's presence is perceived through his pure devotees. The personality of Godhead is omnipresent by his diverse potencies everywhere, just as the power of electricity is distributed everywhere within space. Similarly, the Lord's omnipresence is perceived and manifested by his unalloyed devotees like Vidura, just as electricity is manifested in an electric bulb.
Yeah, just 1 minute. So the comparison and analogy is given. So electricity is present everywhere. Electrons are present everywhere. So if there's a technology available, one can derive electricity from everywhere in this space. But we see electricity. How do we see electricity? We see electricity only when it comes in the electric bulb. So we can see when the electric bulb is lit, we know there is electricity in the bulb. Otherwise, we cannot perceive the electricity. Similarly, Lord is present everywhere. Lord is present everywhere. Every atom, every heart of every human being, every jiva, everywhere His Lord is present. But we cannot see the Lord. We can only see the Lord only when the pure devotees of the Lord, we come in contact with them. Why? Because the Lord is present in their heart in full. So when the pure devotee of the Lord, when we interact with them, then actually we can perceive the presence of the Lord through the pure devotees who is present in their heart. So a very beautiful analogy of electric bulb is given by Prabhupada to explain the point. Next one, Mataji.
To go to some holy place of pilgrimage does not mean only to take a bath in the Ganges or Yamuna or to visit the temples situated in those places. One should also find representatives of Vidura who have no desire in life except to serve the personality of Godhead. The personality of Godhead is always with such pure devotees because of their unalloyed service. Thank you,
Hmm.
Guru.
Yes. So now what Prabhupada is writing is, when we go to a pilgrimage, generally what do people do? They go to the temples, take darshan. They go to holy rivers, take a dip in the holy river. So Prabhupada is saying that when we go to a holy place, not only we take dip in the holy river, not only we go to the various temples and take darshan of the deities, that is certainly good, advisable, recommended, but one should also find a representative of Vidura. Representative of Vidura means one should also find a pure devotee who have no desire in life except to serve the personality of Godhead. So one such Mahabhagavat one should try to locate, one should try to find, and then try to associate with that person maybe sit in the class that person is giving, maybe read some of his books, some of his lectures, and so on, or maybe interact with the person in some small way. So what does it mean? What it means, like in Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, first chapter, 15th verse, we read that pure devotees of the Lord are actually more powerful than holy rivers. Why? Because holy rivers, when we take a dip in the holy river, only our sinful reactions of the past life are eradicated, that are gone. But when we come in contact with the pure devotee, then all the desires, all the materialistic desires, all the tendencies, all the proclivities to commit sinful activities, all those sinful activities, sinful desires actually are gone. Even the proclivity to commit offense, even the proclivity to commit a sinful uh, activity is gone. So that is the power of pure devotees. So pure devotees actually act at the root cause of our of our existence. So that is what Prabhupada is trying to say here. And then uh, there is another very beautiful verse in Srimad Bhagavatam 10th canto, 84th chapter. The verse is something like, uh, are you able to hear me? Are we still connected?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yes, yes, Prabhu.
Okay, just a minute. My mobile has actually disconnected. Let me connect it. So this verse actually comes in the 10th canto, and very much along the similar lines. So यस्यात्म बुद्धि कुणपे त्रिधातुके स्वधि कला त्रिदिशु भौम इज्जधि यत्तीर्थ बुद्धि सलिले न करहिचित जनेष्वभिज्ञेषु स एव गोखरा. Gokhara. Gokhara means, go means cow, khara means ass. So what is the translation of this verse? We will quickly read. One who identifies his self as the inert body composed of mucus, bile, and air, who assumes his wife and family are permanently his own, who thinks an earthen image or the land of his birth is worshipable, or who sees a place of pilgrimage as merely the water there, but who never identifies himself with, feels kinship with, worships, or even visits those who are wise in spiritual truth. So, first two lines is talking about a materialistic person. The third line is Yat Tirtha Buddhi Shalile na Karhichid Janeshwa Abhigyeshu Sa Eva Gokhara. So, what is being mentioned here, what is relevant for this verse in our context is that if we go to a holy place and only go and visit the rivers, only go and visit the holy rivers in that holy place, but do not take the opportunity to go to the or identify oneself, feel kinship with, worship, or visit those who are wise in spiritual truth, who are spiritually advanced people. If we do not go to a spiritual place, we don't go to a pilgrimage and we don't visit these people, such a person is no better than a cow or an ass. Janeshu abhigeshu sa eva gokhara. Gokhara. So that is a very strong statement from Srimad Bhagavatam. Okay ji. Now the last three verses, please read one by one. 11th one, Mataji.
11th, my uncle, you must have visited Dwarka. In that holy place are our friends and well-wishers, the descendants of Yadu, who are always wrapped in the service of the Lord Shri Krishna. You might have seen them or heard about them. Are they all living happily in their abodes?
Yes. Now the next query is about Dwarka Vasis. And in Dwarka Vasis, now you remember I mentioned to you that Lord Krishna departed with Arjuna and Yadus to Dwarka. You remember in the previous chapter, the end verse, the 12th chapter, 36th verse, I asked you to just keep that on hold. Now the connection comes here. So Yudhishthir Maharaj is asking Vidurji about Dwarka Vasis, and where the Yadus are also there, who are who are always wrapped in the service of Lord. You might have seen them or heard about them. Are they all living happily in their abodes? So you can see, first of all, for Dwarka Vasis, what is being mentioned, who are always wrapped in the service of Lord Sri Krishna. So Yudhishthir Maharaj is a devotee of Lord, and he is very much eager to hear about other devotees of the Lord also. For example, Dwarka Vasis. Now, I also mentioned to you that when Lord Krishna went to Dwarka together with Arjuna, he made arrangement or the arrangement was made such that the Yadus had an internal fight and then they killed each other. So the family of Lord Krishna was disappeared, and then Lord Krishna also disappeared. So Yudhishthir Maharaj is bringing a topic related to Dwarka, asking Vidurji, and Vidurji understood this information from whom? Vidurji understood this information from Uddhav. Uddhav, whom he met at pilgrimage, where Uddhav met Vidurji and told about that he had heard Uddhav Gita, and Yadus have left, and the Lord Krishna also had left. He had that information from Uddhavji. Now, what happens next? Please read here.
12. Thus, being questioned by Maharaja Yudhishthir, Mahatma Vidura gradually described everything he had personally experienced, except news of the annihilation of the Yadu dynasty.
So now Vidurji, on hearing this question, explained everything, but did not mention about the annihilation of Yadu dynasty. That was not a very good news. That was a little shock. Krishna had left, and then Yadus also have left. That was a little shocking news. So जोर का झटका धीरे से लगे. So the point is Vidurji is not willing to give this information to Yudhishthir, but gave all other information to Yudhishthir. Now please read why he did not give this information.
Compassionate Mahatma Vidur could not stand to see the Pandavas' distress at any time. Therefore, he did not disclose this unpalatable and unbearable incident because calamities come of their own accord.
So Vidurji understood that Pandavas will be very shocked to hear all this news. So he might give this news to them later on, but right now, just in the beginning of the meeting, he did not want to disclose this news. So he could not stand to see the Pandavas' distress at any time. And the verse says, therefore, he did not disclose this unpalatable and unbearable instant because calamities come of their own accord. So in this material world, there is no dearth of calamities. Already there are a lot of dukkha, a lot of tension, stresses are there. So Vidurji thought that why increase another uh, in this calamities list of calamities to Pandavas. So here in the purport, Prabhupada writes very nicely. Please read, Mataji.
According to Niti Shastra, civic laws, one should not speak an unpalatable truth to cause distress to others. Distress comes upon us in its own way by the laws of nature. So one should not aggravate it by propaganda.
So one should not again and again bring the same thing, distressful thing. So that is something, not to speak unpalatable truth to cause distress to others. So here now we close or take our class to rest, sort of 10 minutes over time. But I hope this was an interesting class. More or less, it was all storyline, but you would see, you would have gathered a lot of details about the flow of Srimad Bhagavatam, how various events are related to each other. It would start to make sense to you, all the chapters that you see in the first canto. How are they related to each other? What is the connection between each of these chapters? So that is something which I think was quite relevant in the class today. With that, we close our class today. All glories to Srimad Bhagavatam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. We can have some discussion now. And for next Mangalacharan and summary service, I would like to request Rakesh ji for Mangalacharan and Jivan Radha Govind Prabhu for summary. So when you prepare summary, I would request that we keep the summary succinct enough, short enough. So maybe within maybe 10-12 minutes, we try to cover everything so that we have good time for the class. Okay. So thank you very much. Now we can have a discussion. Hare Krishna. Anything would like to share? Looks like the class was clear to you, but not, then we can discuss now. Any questions?
Well, clear, Prabhu. Nice class. Very
Okay.
interesting.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thanks for your feedback.
Yeah, actually,
Happy to listen that.
the same realization goes with me. It
Hmm.
was very engrossing class, very interesting, very nice. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Mataji. Thank you very much. Very good for your
Hare
feedback.
Krishna Prabhuji, very interesting class.
Very
Just
interesting.
one
Yeah.
small observation. In the last verse of the class, the same thing we learned in Gita also, that we should not speak what is unpleasant to others. In Gita 17th chapter. So that just, I was just reminded of that when you're taking us through that shloka.
Correct, Mata. Correct, Prabhu. Yes. Yeah. Okay. I think Anudvega Karam Vakyam. That was the, I think 18th chapter, probably 15th verse, 17th chapter, 15th.
17th chapter.
17th chapter, 15th verse, probably. Yeah. Okay. Very good. So good feedbacks. So let us continue the discussion in the next class. Thank you very much again for all your presence. Thank you for giving the opportunity to share Srimad Bhagavatam with everyone. Thank you. Okay.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Thank you. Hare Krishna.